Hello all, it's me, Salty Boy Crin, and I'm here with a video about a couple of things actually. First off, we've got good news. Good news indeed, this made me really happy to hear about. On the 5th of July, which was yesterday, the European Parliament plenary voted against a mandate to start negotiations with the Council. So that's great. What it means is instead of negotiating with the Council immediately and then immediately going to the EU Parliament and the EU Council to decide, well, with negotiations, we will now have way more time and way more time to have an influence over the outcome, over the final outcome. There's another vote in September, the 10th of September. So we best just keep fighting, and I really recommend you check out this page, read through it, understand everything as much as you can. I'm not going to do that in this video, but definitely check it out. In other news, I don't know, you might call it great, you might call it not that great. The government Equalities Office and the Department of Education are involved in some kind of planned consultation to seek out views on the possible reform of the Gender Recognition Act and how they should go about it and what they should actually change. Which is funny because they invite everyone to talk about gender and that side of politics. However, when it comes to the internet, copyright and freedoms of the internet, we literally have to find out about it through a couple of YouTubers. So this was circling around on Facebook, so I assume that it's getting a lot of attention. They actually have a survey which you can fill in. Obviously, if you're from the UK, I'm not too fussed about it. I'm not too fond of that they ask for your address, as in the street you live on, the house number, and you have to fill it in, or I guess your voice doesn't really count. That's a bit weird. Obviously, anything you write about whether you have a gender recognition certificate or not will not be disclosed, but information provided in response to the stuff, consultations, including personal information, may be subject to publication or disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act, which I am really fussy about. I don't like attaching my names to things like this, and I'm not too fond about this may be subject to publication. I don't imagine I could possibly say anything that would get me in trouble. The questions are not horrifying. They're not absolutely horrifying. If you go through some of them now, gladly you don't have to fill in your address to see the actual questions. The first couple are about whether you are or aren't a trans person and what gender recognition means to you. And then it's stuff like this: do you think there should be a requirement in the future for a diagnosis of gender dysphoria? So my problem with this is that, I want to be lenient about it. I want to be like, you know what, it's just a dysphoria, it's not that big of a deal, it's not going to bother me. As long as that person is respectful to me, I'm fine with calling them by their correct pronouns. But you know how it goes. Give them an inch and they take a mile. It's just, once you say this is okay and this is okay, you're kind of put in a difficult position where you're not sure if your vote to allow these things will cause more things that maybe are a bit more extreme to also happen. Like in Canada, you can get arrested for, well, I'm not sure if it's arrested or fined, maybe both, for misgendering someone. And if that was here, I wouldn't be very happy with that at all. So that's another thing to think about. This goes on for a while. There's also a question about marriage, gender in regards to marriage, and spousal consent. And to be honest, this is far too vague. this is far too vague to really comment on. Because clearly, if you've been lying to your partner and then you get married to them, and then you suddenly want to change your gender after marriage, and I'm sure this won't happen a lot, but there's always a chance of it happening. Someone to get married to someone and then change their gender and then expect everything to be fine, or they get divorced and they get half, and it's just really unfair. When it comes to that kind of stuff, it is a bit more important, but at the same time you can kind of get away from that if you're smart enough not to, get involved with someone who you don't trust in that way. Just, if you're watching this, don't get married unless you're with the person for at least 5 years. Just don't be silly. I mean, 5 years is a minimum, in my opinion. Marriage can wait. There's not really much to say about it, except that check it out. Keep an eye on it. Don't write anything stupid, because your name and address is going to be there. Just be open-minded about it. Even though this stuff can be annoying sometimes, there's still people at the end of the day, and it really just is a mental thing that this is all about. It's just about a mental dysphoria thing. Obviously not all the questions limit it to that, because you do have the question about marriage, and you also need to consider how this is going to have an effect on children in the future. I think I will fill this form out, but it's not really a priority to me right now. In other news, we have this, which is really mature. So, there's going to be a Trump baby blimp flying over London next Friday, next week, when Donald Trump visits the UK. That's lovely, isn't it? Very mature. It says a group who describes itself as anti-fascist, but I think Antifa. Yeah, thousands signed petition, and over 20k was raised to have this fly over London on Friday the 13th. We want to make sure he knows that all of Britain is looking down at him and laughing at him, which is... They can dream as much as they want, but clearly not all of Britain feel this way. Not all of Britain feel the same. So that's just what it is. The Mayor of London agreed to this, but who the hell cares at the end of the day? He's not the best person. I'm not really that surprised at all. Not really that upset about it either. As long as no one's getting hurt. Physically. Feelings don't matter. Regardless of whether you're the president or not. That's the update I have today. I'm going to stop leaving the No YouTube Day uploads on Minds alone, because there's no real point just leaving it there and then maybe releasing it at the end of the year or something. That's just a bit... Things will just become irrelevant at that point. And I'm not doing that many videos. Not because I can't, but because there's just currently too much to think about, too much to do. And I am very, very, very frustrated with the state of Europe right now. But the update on this vote that happened is good news, and I hope you guys are a little bit happier because of it. I'll probably upload this and a lot of the other videos to YouTube tomorrow or something. I don't know, really don't know. But thanks for watching. Farewell.